Why quitting marijuana was the best decision of my life, part 2. So in the last video I talked about the war stories. Today I'm going to be talking about the successes and why I'm so happy and grateful that I did decide to quit marijuana. The first one is going to be energy. Man, I was so lazy when I was smoking weed. I don't know about you guys, but I had no energy to do anything, and if I decided that I wanted to go out, go to the gym, maybe go for a run, it would last, I don't know, 5-10 minutes because I just would be so tired. And the only energy I really had to do was to collect the weed, pack the bowl, and smoke it. That was really what most of my day was being used towards. I would get bursts of energy to go get food, which I wasn't eating very healthy there either, and I was really very lazy. I thought I was being productive because I was doing creative stuff on my computer, and I was making a little money selling weed. However, when I really look at it, and when I really had to be honest, I was not doing squat. And I remember I was starting to get into dance music production, and I would make these amazing songs, so I thought. I would be stoned out of my mind. I'd be like, dude, this is God's work. And then I would show friends. I'd be like, yo, check out this new banger. And they like wouldn't move. and a good sign that you have a bad song is if no one's dancing to it. And I was just like, they must not have their mind open to the magic of my music. So I believed that I was being super productive, but really I was just being extremely lazy. So once I quit, I was able to start going out there and having energy to live life, basically, to get a job and to work every single day if I wanted to exercise on a regular basis and actually start to enjoy it. And not just have 5-minute workouts, have good 45-hour-long sessions. I was going out into nature and I was going for a lot of walks. Again, when I was smoking weed, I was really lazy and just sitting on my couch or in my bed all day. I had energy to go start meeting people and developing those relationships. That took a long time. However, I was starting to be able to want to be more social and put myself in those uncomfortable situations to face that anxiety. So another really big benefit is the anxiety started to go away. And I still had a lot of it because I just have a naturally anxious personality. What it did though is it gave me the opportunity to look at the anxiety and find freedom from it, overcome it, look at the root causes of why I was feeling so much anxiety, and really get to the bottom of it and get out and start practicing to work through it. And to overcome anxiety, a big part of it is action. So they call it exposure therapy. So doing the things that give anxiety and doing them over and over and over until they don't give anxiety anymore. I think dating is a great example. I mean, the first time I went and talked to a girl in the middle of the street, I wanted to throw up. And it took me like a whole day to build up the courage. And now I can just do it whenever I want, basically. And there's not as much anxiety. And there usually is a bit, but it goes away almost immediately because I've done it so many times. So again, practice makes good enough. So along with that energy came mental clarity. And this was really nice too because my head was so foggy. I couldn't see 2 feet in front of my nose. And like I said, I thought I was doing all these great things with my life, but in reality, I was really just wasting it. And this one was actually kind of painful at first because I realized I was wasting most of my life. However, once I started to stay off the weed for a prolonged time, I started to put myself in situations that were going to lead towards positive results. Again, with getting into meetings and support groups and starting to meet people, like-minded people that were off marijuana as well. I saw there was hope for myself. I was like, okay, these people were all miserable and depressed, and now they have jobs and they have careers and they're smiling all the time, and they have plans on the weekend. I was like, holy crap, like I thought sobriety was going to be, I was just going to be a boring lump on a log that just kind of waits to die. And these people are living life. Like, holy crap, that's awesome. With this mental clarity too came a new sense of purpose. So I finally was like, okay, I can actually build something for myself in my life. I actually have something to wake up for and work towards every day. And this was a new concept to me because there have been times in my life where I was really focused on something like sports in high school. Once I got into the adult world and I realized, okay, I'm not going to be a professional athlete. I'm not going to be a dentist, which is what I talked about in the last video, what I went to school for originally, and that dream faded very quickly, which I'm very grateful for because that would have been, in my opinion, a terrible career. And my dad always said that too. He's like, you don't want to be a dentist and looking in people's mouths. So he was right on that one. So what I started to do and was able to do was start to put my energy, all that time I was spending sitting in bed or texting the dealer or packing weed and smoking weed and then waiting for the high to come down and smoke again. That was pretty much my whole day for weeks and months and years on end. Once I got out of that cycle, I was like, okay, well, I have all this time now, and that's what you might find too for quitting weed. You actually have a lot of time. It's shocking how much time gets spent focused around marijuana. I was starting to go out and work. I was starting to go out and think of, okay, what can I do with my life long term? I did continue with the music, and I actually was putting real effort into it. I was learning, I was watching tutorials on the internet. I was actually making music and songs and sending it out to record labels. So all that stuff got to start to happen. I ended up going back to school too, which was something I never thought I was going to go back to. And I actually made it a full year, and I was doing well. I was getting decent grades. My grade point average was going up. I talked in the last one that because I was using so many drugs, it wasn't very high, pun intended. And so I was starting to do better in school. Now I stopped school because I realized the career path I was in was not going to be a great one. Come back to mental clarity, right? If I was still using and stuff, I would not have had that awareness to be like, okay, Joel, this actually isn't a great path for you. Maybe it's best to go do something else. So I saved a lot of time in that sense too. I was going into psychology, so I wanted to do counseling. And for that degree, you do all the undergrad, and I was doing part-time. So it was gonna take probably 7 years total to complete that degree. Then you go to 2 years of grad school, and then you go to 2 years of unpaid shadowing, just watching people do therapy. And then you start off at like 40, 50K, and I'm just like, yeah, not happening. I could make more at McDonald's. So I bailed on that path, and it was one of the best decisions I made because now I get to do this here with you. And I mean, this YouTube channel would never have arisen if I would have continued on that career path of therapy. All right, we got the necklace out. So another part of this purpose was in recovery as well. I realized I had a purpose to stay sober. I had a purpose to help other people with their addiction. And I had another purpose to overcome more addictions. To be honest, I have a lot of addictions. And I've been able to work very hard on a lot of them. A lot of them are at bay now. Some of the other addictions I talk about on this channel, I worked really hard on, and they are no longer a part of my reality, basically. There's a few I'm working on right now and that are still kind of present, aka sugar and watching too much TV. I spend more time not doing those than I do. So the advice I give for overcoming addiction is stuff I'm working on even today to overcome the negative habits that I have in my life right now. And it really does work, right? If you would have said 3 years ago that I would go weeks without watching TV, I would have called you absolutely nuts. But that's what it is today. And I feel way better when I'm not watching TV. I think the longest I've gone is like 3 weeks or something, and I was just like full clear, just like out in the world doing stuff. So that's kind of my new purpose, is getting as healthy and clear-headed and free as possible. In recovery itself, though, this YouTube channel came from that. I have purpose now in making these videos. I have purpose in going to meetings and sharing my experience with other people who are still struggling, and as well learning from other people as well, doing the work in those programs to find the freedom. I'm doing some work right now in one of the groups that's money related, and it's really helping bring clarity to how I was raised around money, my beliefs about it, how those beliefs are holding me back from achieving more financial success, etc. So these groups that I'm talking about here, I can't say by name because they are anonymous, wink wink. And what's great about these groups is they have boundaries to prevent people like myself from going out in the world and publicly speaking about it. Obviously people still do. I mean, if you put 2 and 2 together, you can figure out what they are. The reason why we don't say the names though is because let's just say we have somebody that starts talking about it on the internet and they're like, yeah, you guys need to go to this, it changed my life, well, kind of what I'm saying. And then they go do something stupid, right? They go hurt somebody, or they have a huge breakout, or they relapse, right? All the people that were following them that might have said, okay, maybe I should go to these groups because they obviously work for this person, they start to question. They're like, okay, maybe these groups don't work. Do I really want to be like this guy who just screamed at an old lady at the grocery store? Not really. And then it kind of deters people from going to those groups. And those people might have been this close to getting into those recovery groups and finding the freedom they need and completely changing their life. However, because some guy decided to talk about them and use the names, which violates the principles of the program, in public, basically being an unpaid spokesman, they ruin it for everyone. So these groups I'm talking about, I do want to share them with you because I think they are very important. They changed my life too. So what you can do is download the recovery resource guide in the description below. It's going to have about 30 different resources that you can dive into to help with your recovery, from books, movies, other YouTube channels, and then all the support groups. There's forums in there, and you can find exactly the meaning and resource that you need for your recovery. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see this thing. So to get this guide, just hit the link down below, put in your email, and it'll be sent right to your inbox. The next thing that was really a huge benefit to quitting marijuana was starting to have relationships. I finally get to have relationships, man. Like, let me tell you, some of the most agony I've ever experienced is that loneliness I felt, that losing friends, the not being able to connect with people or knowing how. Really, when I look back, it was a skill, and it was a skill that I hadn't developed because I was using so many drugs, and I couldn't do it without the substance. And then once the weed stopped working, which was my crux, it was just game over. I had so much anxiety, paranoia, all these memories were like still stuffed down, but still trying to come up from the past. And in high school, I had a pretty good social life. And a lot of that, though, was because I was in that environment, and I had some social status from sports. So once that went away, once that social status went away, AKA I got in the real world and no one gave a crap anymore. I could run a mile in less than 5 minutes. And also that I wasn't surrounded by people that just wanted to hang out all the time. I wasn't surrounded by kids anymore. These are adults and they have lives and they have their own purpose too. So that availability started to decrease. Same with college. All right, so the staff came in and said I couldn't film there anymore. So we're back in Mikasa and finishing up with relationships here. I did not get sober to be alone for my whole life. And in fact, I got sober because I was spending so much time alone and felt so empty. So a big part of quitting marijuana was getting to be available for relationships. Now, this didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of work, it took a lot of patience, and it took a lot of learning how to have adult relationships. Again, in the past, I would just dive into whoever looked cool and get enmeshed with them, and I'm still working on that today. But now I know that there's a real importance of having boundaries and being able to appreciate somebody for who they are and really see if that's somebody that I can develop something long-term with. And it's trial and error. You know, a lot of relationships don't work. However, a lot do, and the ones that do are the ones to focus on. So again, huge benefit of quitting marijuana was that I got to start having relationships. Not only with myself, which is the most important one, right? Because I could never be alone. I always had to have people around me. And ironically, though, at the end of it, I was pretty much alone. Now, though, I can spend time alone and it feels good. And then I can go and hang out with people and it feels good. So I get to have that balance. So not only with myself, but with my family. And that was a big one, too. I was pretty ostracized at that point from my family. I had a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, and I didn't want anything to do with them. And as I got into recovery and started working on myself, I began to see, you know, the ways that I was responsible for some of the pain I was feeling towards family members. And once I was able to learn to forgive as well, I was able to move on and have way better relationships with them as well. And the final one here is I got a life. I got my life back. I got an opportunity to live and live life to its fullest. One of the big awakenings I had was living in this house, and I had a few different rooms because people had been moving out. So, and I just was sleeping on the floor on a mattress. I had no bed. It was literally just a mattress, which was kind of cool, actually. It was kind of nice. And I remember laying there and I'm like, Joel, one day you're not going to be here anymore. Death was not something that I was comfortable thinking about or facing ever. And a lot of the decisions I made was running from that truth that, you know, there is an end to this journey. And so I really had to get real with myself and said, okay, man, you know, do you want to look back when time is up and basically have wasted it? You know, I know as a kid, I had so many dreams. Like whenever we go drive around, I would see big, nice houses. I was like, man, I want to kind of live this really cool lifestyle. I was like, that ain't going to happen if I'm in prison or if I'm dead. So that was a real wake up for me. And then also just the idea of time and that, like, I was getting older. I was 22 at the time. And I just remember growing up, I never really planned past 20. I was like, for some reason, I just wouldn't let my mind go there. And it was just like, you know, I was going to be young forever. Well, I was like, man, I'm 2 years past where I thought, you know, I never thought I would get to, and this is my life. Crap, something's not right here. And I knew too that, okay, 5 years is gonna go by. Just like 5 years went by from when I got into college and I had all those magical experiences. 4 years went by in college, or 4 years went by in high school, just like that. And I'm like, okay, another 5 years is gonna swing by before I even know it. And do I wanna look back 5 years from now and be happy with myself and the decisions I made and in the place where I actually want to be in life? Or do I want to still be, you know, in this little drug dealer house, basically, with no money, no relationships, completely empty. Weed's not even working anymore. And that was really scary. And I didn't know if quitting weed was going to yield a better life. I just knew that staying where I was going to yield a bad life. So from there, that was really when I made the decision to say goodbye for weed for good. And I started to move on from the cannabis. And it's been a wild journey, something that I could never have anticipated. And life did get good, so it was a good gamble. I have an addiction to gambling, so I can't touch that. But this was a gamble that I was willing to take on myself. And there was moments that have been tough. Like, I can't lie, it hasn't been all smooth sailing. There's been a lot of lessons that I needed to learn and a lot of experience I need to have in order to become the person that I want to be. I wouldn't have those experiences, though, if I was still smoking weed. So it all comes back to that root decision to stop smoking marijuana. So it's crazy, yeah. 5 years from that day, I look back and I said, wow, thank God I freaking did that. And we're even a few years past that now, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. It's unreal. Sometimes it's unreal in a painful way because, I avoided a lot of these life lessons. However, each time I learn those lessons and I level up in a sense, I get to experience more freedom and joy and all that stuff. And I'm just like, I'll have days, it's just like, wow, that just happened. It's amazing. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. And if you're out there and you're struggling with weed right now and you're just at wit's end, or maybe you're a couple years in, a year in, and you're still not finding, maybe the dream life you've been wanting, all I can say is stay with it. Don't give up. Keep doing what you know in your heart you need to be doing each and every day to be a better person and really embrace this journey as a lifelong thing. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There could be in the religious sense, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And there will be moments of light throughout the tunnel. However, there's going to be no light if that joint gets picked up again and the old lifestyle comes back. So where are you on your journey right now? That's my question for you today. Have you tried recovery groups? Have you gotten sober on your own and been able to kind of fulfill the dreams that you've always wanted? Having a great financial life, career, all that stuff? Or are you still struggling? Have you tried a few times and it just hasn't worked? And you're kind of at wit's end, not really sure where to go? Well, I'll say this, New Year's is a great time to begin a new venture and to really dedicate yourself to something. Every year I give myself something that, hey, I'm gonna start the new year off right with this behavior activity out of my life so I can always revert back to, okay, this year I started off on the clean path for whatever the behavior or thing I want to change is. So although New Year's resolutions might sound cliche at this point, there is like an energy that supports making change and beginning new things in your life. And so I really encourage you to, if you're kind of on the fence about quitting weed, or if you are ready to take the plunge and you had a fun holidays and you're ready to get back on the horse and get back into discipline and get serious about this part of your life, then you got my blessing and you got my full support. I'm here for you to help you with that, whether it's through these videos or through coaching. So if coaching is something that you are interested in, curious about, and want to know more about, then I do have a 45-minute call that you can schedule with me down below. We'll get on a phone call together and kind of find out where you are in your journey, what your goals are for this new year, and maybe what's held you back from quitting in the past, and then really work to undo that. I help people quit marijuana quickly and in a very efficient way to where they look back and they are basically living a brand new reality. You're going to see Derek on the channel here soon, and he's going to share his experience with how coaching helped him get off marijuana, and now he's living a great life. He's at a concert, I believe, today, not touching any substances and just having a blast, and it's so cool to see because he is somebody that was pretty frustrated. He came to me very not sure where to go, and he had tried a lot of things, and he was just kind of at wit's end. He's like, kind of had that screw up mentality, and giving up can sometimes be the best thing for growth, right? And I say giving up on the things that aren't working. So marijuana clearly was not working. He said, I throw my hands up, and we really worked on kind of switching his mindset a little bit to figuring out, what more does he have to live for than marijuana? Because there's no way in hell that marijuana is really the reason God put him on this earth, or however, the universe, whatever, that could be a whole nother conversation. Like, I saw all his potential immediately because he's a dope dude, pun intended. And we just really needed to help him see that and unlock it for himself and then get through that withdrawal process. So that's what I'm here for. I'll help you get through that withdrawal process in a smooth and efficient manner, just by adding a few things to your regimen that are going to help you get through one day to the next and then Before you know it, a month will go by and the cravings will have subsided to a degree. So once again, schedule a call down below. I would do it for free. However, I'd have people, backed up for hours, and probably most of them would show up. So for $20, which is about 2 grams, you can get a 45-minute call with me, and we can really find out how you can quit weed starting right now. So with that, guys, comment down below what your benefits have been from quitting marijuana, if that's where you are on your journey, or if you're about to quit weed. What do you want to see from your recovery? What are you looking forward to? And fingers crossed that things start to play out that way. If you do the work, they will, guaranteed. So with that, guys, have a great one. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.